to go. There we go. Touchdown. Yay. Get my cheerleader on. My spirit fingers. Fire up. Let's go. Okay. Hi, guys. It's me, Sonja. Welcome to the first edition of the Our Turf Podcast College Edition. Let's go. So yeah, that's my little rah rally. We have with us this evening Cleveland Kate, and everybody remembers our good friend, and who will be joining us is Michelle Jinks. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Big
Red.
Oh. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. How are we doing this evening?
I'm so excited to talk college football.
I'm excited. It's football season. The greatest time, football. The most wonderful time of the year.
Football. Now it's real football. It's football that matters.
Hello. Oh my gosh. So yes, if you guys are watching us over on Twitter or Facebook, come over to our YouTube channel. You guys can get in on the chat and chat with us live. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, anything. You can voice it right there in the chat. So yeah. Kristen, what's going on, girl? Hey. So yeah. We are so glad you guys are here, and we are so excited to talk some real football and some college football. So come with us on this journey. We're glad you're here. Let's go. Let's get it. Kate, go ahead. Let's talk.
All right, let's talk. So because this is our first episode of the Our Turf Football College Edition, what we thought we would do is talk a little bit about some of the changes in the divisions between last year and this year. There is no more Pac-12. I believe the Big Ten is now what? The Big 18? I think we have 18 teams in the Big Ten. So we'll walk through a little bit about what the new conferences look like. And then the playoffs are completely different this year. They're going to do a 12-team playoff. So we will talk about that a little bit. And then we'll talk about some games this weekend that we're going to be keeping our eye on. It's the first week of the season, right? And so it's usually what we used to call rent a loser. You pay somebody big money to come and play you, knowing that it's going to be 60-7 or something like that. Yeah. You know, my Buckeyes are playing the Akron Zips, and I love me some Akron Zips. I love MAC schools, but it's not even going to be a contest. And there are an awful lot of those. But Michelle found some games that are actually going to be worth watching this weekend that are going to have some repercussions, so to speak. So
Yes. Oh, and full disclosure, I'm Sonja. I am a Michigan fan. That's right. 2013 national champions. That's me. Go Blue. We're going to try not to talk too much about our teams, our own teams, because we want to make this inclusive for everybody. However, the fourth week of November, it's just going to be on. We just got to bring it. So full disclosure there. Kate, tell us Kate, we talked about your team.
Well, I'm a Buckeye girl. Michelle, who's your home team? Who's your
I'm all about the orange and green. So it's the FAMU Rattlers, and it's all about the U.
Nice shirts. I thought you had bling on. I didn't realize it was on your shirt. Very nice. Lisa would be so jealous. So yeah, we didn't want this to just turn into a podcast about those three teams. We're going to try to mix it up and talk a lot more. What I notice is, especially even with Dana and Lisa, who are as into football as we are, when it gets to draft time and we start talking about drafts and prospects, and we're going to, Lisa goes to the Senior Bowl, and we go to the draft and we do all that kind of stuff. A lot of people aren't as familiar with the college players. And so we thought this would be a good opportunity to really talk about some of those schools that don't get a lot of love, but have some really amazing talent, great games. Hampton, we'll be definitely talking about the HBCU schools. And a lot of even in the top 25, there are still teams, you have the ones everybody knows, and then there's other teams in there and new teams that have joined the conferences. So we'll pick some players out through the course of the year. We will put up polls on Thursday or Friday. You'll see a poll from us on which game do you think we should all three watch on Saturday, and then we will try to watch that game and then talk about it on the next podcast and really highlight some schools that don't get as much love. Oh, it's all about the U. Lisa has joined us.
Hello, Lisa.
Hello,
We
Farmer
see you.
Lisa. Did you see her shirt? There it is.
Oh, goodness.
Sonja, you want to start with the new playoffs or the divisions?
Oh gosh, let's talk about the divisions because it's like 8,922 people now in the Big Ten. Is there still a Pac-12? Like, it's just all crazy. And I get it in a way, but man, the Big Ten just has a big reach right now. Um, lots of that going on, which is just it's just going to take a lot of getting used to. And the one thing about college is that it's tradition and it's old school stuff and things like that, so it's going to really be kind of hard to get used to. I think the Big Ten making those big changes was huge, but honestly, I think what more people are waiting for is like SEC, ACC. What's Florida State going to do? What's Clemson going to do? So I think those are going to be big things that are coming in the future. So that's what I'm talking about.
I hear you. I was trying to look to see. Last I checked, there were still 2 teams in the Pac-12.
Oregon State and Washington. They're holding on.
They have not found homes yet. They're just gonna roll with it and be the only 2 teams in there.
That's it.
Like, come on, that's crazy. Let me see.
Is it even a division now? Right?
I would argue you need at least 4 schools to be a division, right? Like, you should have more than one.
So basically, yeah. So the ACC now has 17 teams. They added Cal, SMU, and Stanford. The Big Ten moved to 17 teams for the ACC, with the addition of Cal, SMU, and Stanford. The Big Ten moved to 18 teams. They've added Oregon, UCLA, USC, and Washington. The Big 12 is now the Big 16, and they added Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. And then the SEC is now 16 teams, adding Oklahoma and Texas. So those are your major conferences. The AAC has 14, Conference USA has 10, and then you got the Mid-American, the Mountain West, and Sun Belt. Sun Belt has 14. Mountain West and Mid-American both have 12. So those are your new conference alignments, in which are, I guess it's the Big 4 now, or 5 if we count. I don't know who adds the 5 when you say Power 5s, because the Pac-12 has 2 teams.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but you look at
there's 2 independent teams. Notre Dame, which I don't think will ever join a division, no matter how much money they throw at them. And the UConn, University of Connecticut, the Huskies are still independent. They have not joined a conference. I would argue that Oregon and Washington are independent. They can pretend they're in a conference. They need to do something with those 2.
Out of these conferences, which do you guys think had the best additions, or which additions don't make much sense?
That's a really good question.
I'll speak to the Big Ten because I'm more familiar with those changes. It feels more like a power basketball conference than a power football conference right now. I don't know that any of the teams, maybe Oregon, but most of the teams that joined the Big Ten are not a threat. I think the SEC got a little more competitive. I think some good teams joined that conference.
Agreed. I think that the SEC got better with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma. So I think, and just bringing more rivalry, more fun to that division. Not that that conference, not that needed any more, but I think I think that was a very good move for them, bringing more money, bringing more eyes, bringing more just rivalries. I think. Kristen asks a good question. What do all those teams in those big divisions mean? Will anything change with the playoff picture?
Well, the playoff picture is already changed with the addition of, now that it's a 12-man team. and so that just means that the SEC now can have pretty much the whole conference in. No, I'm just joking. That just means that more teams will get an opportunity, but they'll still come pretty much from these four conferences: the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the SEC. And with the addition of the Notre Dames and teams that are independent, but I think the ACC had the weirdest moves because they picked up a team. They picked up teams from California and Texas, and so that just seemed a little weird. SEC, we already knew out of anybody, we knew Texas and Oklahoma was there. So, what I'm most disappointed about is my late night games for the Pac-12. I mean, those were the games when I couldn't sleep. I watched those games, and that was mostly all the time I stayed up late because their games were always exciting. They were high scoring. Not that, and I'm a defensive person, but late at night, some high scoring games were really good. So it's going to be interesting to see with those teams being split up in that conference and how that works. And how it's going to feel. I just think this year is just going to feel real funny for everybody because no one really knows who's in what conference. And so when people are playing, and when it gets down to the playoff time for playoffs, or when we're just talking about who's winning what conference and division, that's when everybody will start feeling like, oh, I didn't know they were in that conference, and so forth, so on. But for the most part, we're just going to watch the games and be ready. So,
yeah. I mean, and those West Coast schools are still playing. It'll just be, there won't be as many games. They won't be playing each other. So there won't be 2, 3, 4 games in that late evening slot because some of them will be playing in the Midwest or on the East Coast. So they'll be in the earlier slots. So you probably still get one game in the evening, at least if you get, insomnia and you can't sleep and you want to find something, there'll be a few of those games. But yeah, you're right. Not as many as we're used to seeing.
Yep.
Uh-oh. Y'all, we got us a Gator fan in the chat.
Oh.
Whoa. Was not expecting that. How about that? Y'all got a big game coming up this
Big
weekend.
Red says they're the 5th best team in the state of Florida.
Yeah. I mean, it's, for a long time, Florida and Miami didn't play. We're excited. I think the state of Florida is excited to see that rivalry back again, to see. And, this is the year, as every year is, for everybody to say, is the U finally back? They garnered some top 25 votes, and they're in number 19 again, and we'll see how it goes. Like the Cowboys, they have to prove it to me, so we'll see what happens. But this is a good game. It's not, Florida's not ranked, but it's still a big opponent for Miami. And so I think that a good start here would be great for them.
This is why don't we talk about some games this weekend? This is Saturday, Miami against Florida, 3:30 Eastern. But Michelle, there are a whole lot of games that are, I don't even know if they're watchable this weekend, but you found a few that you thought would be interesting. Aside from the inner Florida, little spark in that rivalry thing, what else do you see on the schedule?
When we kicking off at noon, you got Clemson and Georgia playing at noon on ABC. So that's a really big game. One, Georgia, 2-time champ, was beat by Alabama. Everybody's waiting to see if they can come back and be the same team that they've been. I mean, they have 39. I don't know how many games they won in regular season in a row over the course of years. And then you have Clemson, who's on the way down, with Dabo not even making the playoffs last year, 9-4 last year, trying to see if they can come back to prominence. So that's the noon game. We talked about the Miami and Florida UF game at 3:30. That's the 3:30 game. But then that night, 7:30, we got Notre Dame and Texas A&M. And so I think that'll be a big game for both of those ranked in the top 25. So those are our games right there. I would say the games.
Notre Dame and who? Texas A&M? Is that who's playing?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame. I've never really truly liked them, and I don't know where they're now. Look, I will say that I've never liked them as a fan, but I will always be objective for the most part. But that'll be our goal. We'll be objective for the most part, but I just don't know if they've got enough to get them to where they feel they need to be. I don't think, I mean, it's been a long time since they've been, I don't know, truly world beaters, because I've always felt that there's
Yeah.
somebody waiting for them that's able to just, knock them right off easily.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame's been ranked in the top 10. I mean, they nearly made it. They were in the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs the last couple, or just outside of it. I mean, I like watching the coach. I'm not a fan of Notre Dame, but Marcus Freeman, since he's taken over, he's done pretty good with the Irish. They just seem to fall up short when it gets down to it, right as we get ready to get into that championship game. But they've been close. And so we're just, I mean, I think everybody where is it in the Big Bend or South Bend area is just looking to see, can they get over that hump? Can they be the team before they move into, or someone forces them to move into the ACC in football or something like that?
Yeah,
Can they get to that champion? I know. Can they get to
a bit
that
of a challenge this first week? They're playing Texas A&M. Texas A&M, Notre Dame's showing up at number 7 on the first round of polls, and Texas A&M is 20, which
correct. Mm-hmm.
Ohio State's playing Akron. Did I mention they're playing Akron? Like, so many of these schools are playing completely unranked, ranked.
Well, and that's how you kick off the season. That's sort of like a preseason for them, because they don't play. They don't really have a preseason, so you come out. Some teams come out light, and some teams they come out running. And I think that Clemson and Georgia and Notre Dame Clemson and Georgia is a conference game, but you don't often play those the first game.
Playing conference games week 1. I mean, I
was about to say you don't often
move. Both of those are, they're already ranked, and they're gonna, Georgia at number 1, and I don't know where Clemson is sitting, 14, I think. So I mean,
I think so.
It's going to set Georgia's season on its ear if they lose to Clemson week 1, and Clemson's going to jump up, and then they're going to have to defend that all year. Like, it can be a good thing to have this kind of a matchup, even Notre Dame, Texas A&M. It can be a good thing to start the year with that, because if you lose, you have the whole rest of the year to kind of make up for it and put together a body of work. And we all know from the way the voting is done, they'll kind of give you a pass on that. Where Sonja and I struggle is when Ohio State plays Michigan the last week of the season, 4th Saturday in November, and it turns into the winner is in the Big Ten championship. The loser not only has a loss, they also don't get another game until the bowls to try to remind the voters why they were good. So I think there's a lot of reasons why maybe you get a game like Clemson, Georgia out of the way in the first couple weeks, so that whichever team loses has more time during the season to work their way back up the rankings. And then
the SEC is so strong. The SEC is so strong. So, no matter who Georgia plays, their conference schedule is strong enough to get them to where they need to be. But when you look at, and I said that was a conference game, it's an out of conference game, but when you look at Florida State and Georgia Tech, who just played, that is a conference game that was played. One, Florida State in the top 25, they may have been 25, but they've been the team that has felt they've been the most disrespected over the last year or two. And then they come out in shock and lose to Georgia Tech. So that's already a shakeup early into the top 25. But to your point, that might be a good thing. I mean, it's better to lose early than to lose late, is what the voters have shown us in the past.
Especially, and if you're a coach, you're sitting your players down and say, you took that lightly. I've been telling you, you weren't good enough. You better have your head straight for the whole rest of the year. And sometimes those are very valuable lessons that can turn an entire season around.
Okay.
And I think a one-loss SEC team will get higher votes and be higher ranked than a one-loss Big Ten or a one-loss Pac-10 team, because they have a higher degree of difficulty in conference with the people
so
they say. That's what they say.
It's reputation. Reputation, they do,
So in the past,
reputation.
Yeah, in the past, winning your conference, being in that top 4 was huge. because those are the only teams that went to the playoffs. This year, Sonja, we get 12 teams in the playoffs.
We get 12 teams. And that honestly is, I mean, I don't know who was, I know there are vocal coaches about it, but Harbaugh was very vocal about expanding it. And so I think that'll be kind of interesting. It's going to be a longer bowl season, but I also think that I don't know. I don't know how I feel about expanding it that big. I thought maybe 18 to 12, that's a lot.
Yeah, but the way they laid it out, so the top 4 ranked conference champions get a bye, and then teams 5 through 12 start playing. Mm-hmm. And Team 13 is going to complain. Michelle, I have been listening to Team 5 complain for years. I kind of don't care what Team 13 has to say.
Well, I mean, once you expand, which I think it needed to expand. Actually, when it started, I thought that they should have started with 6 instead of 4, and at some point that they should have expanded gradually. So I'm happy. I'm actually happy to see that they've expanded to 12 teams. Hell, the FCS been playing the playoff system for years, and it's worked just perfectly. We always know who wins. We have a clear champion every year. Because they go through a playoff system. And so I've personally been looking forward to the playoff system. And naturally, your top 4 teams are going to have a bye because they've earned the right to do that. And the rest of the teams are going to play each other until you get to that point. And so that's just how it goes. What's going to be interested is in how we select those teams and how those teams are selected and who gets in. We know the conference champions will get in. As they should, and then some teams have a championship game, and I guess all of them have a championship game, or maybe they don't have a championship game, but then you got Notre Dame and you got Oregon and you got those teams that are not a part of a conference who will also get votes. So those independent teams, and that's where they're going to be ranked, and then the question is going to be, should a undefeated Notre Dame team be ranked ahead of a team that wins their conference? And
it doesn't matter.
Always have those issues though.
But that's just it. It doesn't matter. Sucks to be Notre Dame and UConn. You are not in a conference. You do not get a bye. The best you can. It doesn't matter where you place. We have seen in the last couple of years in the top 4, 2 teams from the same conference. The way the rules are laid out for this playoff is very clear. It is not the top 4 ranked teams. It's the top 4 ranked conference champions. So if you have a conference champion at 1 and someone else in their conference at 2, nope, we go down to number 3. Is that a conference champ? We could have number 7. If they're a conference champion, those are those first 4 they get to are the ones that get a bye. So Notre Dame can be ranked number 1. They're not getting a bye because they are not a conference. It's sort of the NCAA's way to try to force Notre Dame into a conference. You want to be good? You want to make the playoffs? You want to buy? Then you need to join a conference.
But I think that's only fair. If you don't do it that way, then what is the point of having the conferences and the championships if they're not going to benefit from that?
And those teams played an extra game, right? The week of the conference championships, everybody sat home. So it's only right that now they get a bye. They get to sit home while y'all play one more game and catch up to them. And then we're back to a level playing field. As far as minutes played, I love it. I like any number divided by 4. I wish they'd have done 4, 8, and then 12, and gradually got a little bigger.
Yes,
but exactly. I think they went with the Big Bang idea of, what, if we go to 6 or 8 this year, then that bubble team is going to complain. We might as well just go to 12 and be done with it. But the conference championships still matter. Those are huge games, and those still matter, and those are very important for those teams that want to buy. So I think all in all, it took them a long time to get here. But so far, now, we all know that when the voting happens at the end of the season, I'm going to find some reason to complain about who they put where. But as of right now, the way they have it kind of laid out, I like it.
One thing we do know is no one is going to be happy. They can't please everybody. So
literally,
you just got to play who is in front of you and try to hold up the trophy at the end. So
yeah, for sure.
So we I don't know what's next. Are we talking about are there teams or coaches or programs that we don't see in the top 25, or who we think should be in the top 25, or who do we think is being overlooked?
Well, I just wanted to answer one of the questions that I saw in the chat. A lot of chat going on. What about the service academies?
I love
They
it.
are all part of the ACC now. So they are in the conference. They are in a conference. They have the ability to be their conference champions. And I think that is awesome. But I don't know. I feel like when we talk about the NFL, one of the things that we always say, Sonja, when we do our Tuesday podcast, is that you need to get me to like week 4 or 5 before I really see what a team is going to be like and what they're going to do. And I thought back in the day, they didn't even put out rankings until a few weeks into the season. I'm seeing rankings now, like 6 teams have already played. I'm like, how is Georgia number 1? Did you just take last year's rankings and copy and paste into this year? It just
in
seems,
college they always
I have
do
a hard time. Anything can happen in these first couple weeks.
Literally.
Well, in college they always do preseason
and
rankings,
it's way too soon.
And you can, you rank them based on the team, how they were last year, how many people they're bringing back, and what they are expected to do this year. And so that's why there's so much movement. But I think I'm excited to see myself. I'm excited to see. I want to see what Coach Prime in Colorado is going to do. Last year, they came in with all of the hype. They were ranked, and then it just didn't go that well. And I think this year he's changed a lot of coaching. He has some former professional players in key positions. They still have their nucleus. They lost a lot of players, but I'm interested. They're not ranked at all, and there's been a lot of chatter about that. I know Dion's been upset about that, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do. They're in a different conference now,
team?
Not Colorado.
Oh,
and now they're in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So that's different than the teams that they were playing. So interested to see how that's going to work out.
I was surprised that I didn't see Washington anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, did they not make the playoffs last year?
They're not in the conference.
But you lose your head coach, and then you send your quarterback off to the NFL, and not only do you drop down from the top 4, you drop out of the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No conference.
That's huge. That we don't know what's going on in Purple Land.
Yep.
Absolutely. I don't know.
And what about Michigan? Since we're not talking, we might as well talk about Michigan and see if Evil Harbaugh left them in a dump. If they're going to, I've seen where they may lose champion wins from 2021 through 2024. I don't know what to make of that, but right now everybody thinking they're in the top 25, so we'll see.
But Sonja, how do you win a national championship and come back the next year at 9?
That's my question. I don't know if it's because,
one, they lost their coach, and then they lost players to graduation.
They lost JJ, but the Vikings lost JJ too. Who's going to be quarterbacking this year?
If I'm not mistaken, word on the street, Alex Orji in the end zone, as our friend RG3 said on a broadcast one day. That's word on the street right now. I haven't really heard too much other than that, but it'll be interesting. So
I got my eye on Davis Warren. I don't know if he's good enough to win you another championship, but he's good enough for my team to beat you. So I think he should be your quarterback.
Sure thing, boss. And everybody does, Lisa. Everybody does. We all do. Anyway.
I'm refraining because the words to the song are a little different and a little more kid friendly, Lisa.
Yes.
We sing it every time we cross the border. Anyway.
You guys are so funny.
We are. You know what? Alabama. I think we need to wrap things up. What do you got?
Alabama is one that I'm going to keep an eye on. I think they have talent, but I don't know if I don't know. It'll just be interesting to watch
But
them this
again,
year.
they lost their head coach and only went to 5.
It's
Michigan
Alabama,
went to
baby.
9,
It's
and
Alabama.
Washington completely disappeared. So does that mean they think Harbaugh his loss is going to be a bigger effect on Michigan than Saban's in Alabama?
No, you're comparing apples and oranges. It's Alabama.
It's Alabama. It's
Alabama.
I think that's gonna be a sign I'm gonna put on the back behind me, because there's gonna be a whole lot of weeks where I ask questions and Michelle, you're just gonna point to the sign. It's Alabama.
I'm gonna say it's Alabama. That's all.
Alabama. Okay. All right. Ladies, any final thoughts about this weekend? I know tomorrow we're gonna put up a poll and y'all can vote on which game you think that you can make the 3 of us watch. Big Red, the answer to that is absolutely yes. I would have fired him last year.
I was about to say, yeah.
I would have fired him last year because there's really only one thing, that you have one job. We're not talking about kickers.
And not
when you are the head coach of the Ohio State University, you have one job, and that job is to meet Michigan, and he's over. So I'd have gotten rid of him last year. When Mike Vrabel left Tennessee, I was just like, come home to the Buckeyes. Well, he went to the Browns. I got him up here. I got him into Ohio. Give him a year with the Browns, and then maybe if Ryan can't get it done this year, we could see Mike Vrabel.
Slides right in.
Somebody taking over down in Columbus.
Well, here's my departing thoughts. I want to give a shout out because I want to make sure that we acknowledge some of these FCS schools, and I want to shout out to South Dakota State, who plays Oklahoma State this Saturday and going into the game with a 29-game win streak. They are a 2-time champion of the FCS championship title, and their coach Jimmy Rogers won last year in his first season after taking over the team. So we're going to see if they can hold on and make it 30 games in a row and make probably one of the program's biggest upsets over Oklahoma State.
Oh, that's definitely going to be one of the matchups in our poll. Maybe for the first week, we just pick a game to watch, and maybe that's one of the games. We'll put something up tomorrow for that.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that.
And also shout out to my FAMU Rattlers who won the MEAC SWAC Champion Challenge the first week of the week 0, 24-23 over Norfolk State. And they will open up at home this weekend against South Carolina State. Two new coaches, and we'll see what happens there. They're defending HBCU national champions, and we'll see how they go for the end of the season.
Excellent.
My school, Hampton University, is taking on those Morgan State Bears this weekend. They're at home. We're about to see how they do. They haven't fared the greatest the past couple of years, but they've beaten the teams that they need to beat. So I'm all excited about it. So yeah, let's go. Let's go Pirates. Fire up Pirates. The blue and white, baby.
Go Akron.
Go Zips. Go Zips. If my Buckeyes were going to lose a game, I would love to lose that first week, just because then I got all season to figure it out.
You got all season, I know.
All right. Thank you, everyone who joined us in the chat. For those of you who are watching us on Twitter, we forgot to tell you, if you come to YouTube, we can chat back and forth with you. We'll put your comments on the screen, answer your questions. Look out on the Our Turf Football Twitter account tomorrow for a poll about which game we should pay attention to this week. And we'll see you again next Wednesday right here on the Our Turf Football Podcast College Edition. For Sonja, Michelle, are you on my other side? I can't do the Brady
on the other side.
And Cleveland State. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.